Hi, Lenny Sharp, Sharp Mountain Homes team of eXp Realty. So today we're going to start a new series of videos I'm going to call STR Spotlights, where we're going to drill down on some excellent STR investments in the Yosemite area. For today's video, we will start with two homes that are under $400,000. I'm going to show you what they're projected to earn in terms of revenue, talk a little bit about the properties, what amenities and what potential to increase those amenities and appeal to guests exist. Enjoy these two videos. This will be an ongoing series, and I will begin adding different price points and different amenities, including two homes with pools that I'll share a couple of videos from now. I just want to give you an opportunity to take a close look at a couple, in this case, under $400,000 asking price, and we'll take a look and see how these investments could perform for you. Let's jump in and get started.
Okay, so the properties under $400,000 we're going to look at today are in Oakhurst, and you can see how the Oakhurst listings are distributed. Here's town center right here in the middle, and then up Highway 41 through Fish Camp to Yosemite, or Highway 49 through Mariposa to Yosemite. And we'll show you a little bit about that. In fact, let me go ahead and zoom out a bit so you can get a sense of the larger area. This is, again, Oakhurst here, and if we kind of scroll, you can see Yosemite Valley here, Mariposa, Coarsegold a little farther away, Bass Lake, which extends closer. But again, these are the areas that we're focused on. At about 30 minutes from the south gate of Yosemite on the Highway 41 side, and about an hour and a half into Yosemite Valley. But Yosemite is huge, and no matter where you're staying, you're going to be driving. So let's take a look at the market. We've got submarket score of 73, annual revenue of $62,000, average daily rate of $333. You've got total active listings of 766, so quite a few listings. Most are on Airbnb or both, Airbnb or VRBO. Booking.com is not really much of a factor in our area. There are some local management companies that do direct booking, but Airbnb definitely dominates. And if you look at listings that are on both Airbnb and VRBO, you'll find that most of their bookings are coming from Airbnb. Here's the distribution by size. So there's actually quite a few one bedrooms, 28%, fewer two bedrooms, 31% three bedrooms, which is the highest percentage, four bedrooms, and then five bedrooms at only 8%. You can see that three bedroom really is the sweet spot, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. But one bedrooms and two bedrooms make up close to half of the available listings, so it's pretty significant as well. Smaller listings can do well. In particular, the seasonality may be a little bit less in the off season, so you get bookings when a large home is not being booked. So what I want to do now is actually go over here and filter for some of the listings to narrow it down to more about what we're talking about. But before that, I want to actually look at amenities and what effect they can have on the overall revenue. So if you remember, we're at $62,000 in annual revenue, 56% occupancy rate, which is actually not too bad. I think anything over 50% is good. And a $337 average daily rate. So that gets you to a little under $200 a night in terms of what we call RevPAR, which is revenue per available night to rent. You know, that basically RevPAR is a combination or a function of occupancy rate and daily rate. So let's take a look at a few of these amenities. Number one is a hot tub. So if we just say, first of all, let's say you don't have a hot tub. we'll apply that. So this is the market at large. So the average revenue just dropped from 62,000 to 45,000. Didn't have a huge effect on occupancy rate, but it did significantly reduce the average daily rate. So that's why our RevPAR dropped down to 140. Okay, 62 was may or may not have a hot tub, but what if we change this to yes, we just want to see listings that have hot tubs. So we apply that, and now we are up to almost $92,000 a year. So the message is either pick a property that already has a hot tub. If not, then invest in a hot tub, roughly $10,000. Consider it $10,000 or $12,000, and that is the cost of the hot tub and possibly some ground preparation or deck reinforcement and electrical. But boost your occupancy rate, boost your average daily rate significantly, increases your RevPAR, and gets you to almost $92,000 a year. Now, you've got to understand that this is across everything from 1 to 5 bedrooms. So let's start narrowing that down so we get a little bit better idea of the properties we're looking at. So we are going to say, since we're going to be a 3-bedroom, let's say it accommodates 4 to 8 people. So depending on bonus areas and that sort of thing, that's reasonable range for a 3-bedroom. And let's just look at 3 bedrooms. We're going to apply that. Bathrooms, we'll say 1 to 3. And then we're going to also pick entire place. So we're talking about houses. We're not talking about rooms or shared rooms. And the real estate type, we'll pick house. Probably wouldn't make much of a difference because most of the listings up here are homes. So we've got that kind of narrowed down. And then we're going to go over here to performance. First of all, price tier. So right now, we're covering everything from the very low end to ultra luxury. And I don't think that makes sense, but let's go ahead and look at mid-scale to upscale. We can go ahead and throw economy in here just to see what that does. Give that range. So that's the meat in the middle. So we're throwing out just the very cheap and the very high. And again, Airdna filters these based on nightly rate. Won't worry about whether it's professionally managed or how many managers they have. This is covering a range of ratings. We'll leave that for now. And we'll just throw away the very newest listing. We're going to leave hot tub in there. I'm going to also throw in pet friendly. I would show you what some of the effect of these individually are, but pet friendly is a good amenity to offer. It's going to capture typically a broader audience. You're going to get a lot of travelers that are searching for pet friendly homes, and it will definitely increase your occupancy. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and say we're going to have a dryer. E-charger is a good idea, but I think it may thin the field just a little bit too much. We're going to have a TV, we're going to have a washer, and we're going to have wireless internet. And we're going to have kitchens. All these are going to have kitchens, and we're going to offer the luxuries of heating and air conditioning and parking. So we're not specifying pool. We're not providing breakfast. We're not saying cable TV. Most Starlink is very popular. So we're just going to apply these filters. Again, we've got our listing filters, both in terms of price range. We've got our bedroom down to only 3 bedrooms, a range of bathrooms, and a range of amenities that we would plan on using in one of these properties. So we're going to apply all of that. Now we're at 101,000. So That just goes to show you that the market is there. There's only now 114 STRs that are 3-bedroom and accommodate 4 to 8 guests, have all the amenities that we specified, but now, again, we're in range. So this kind of gives you an idea of, in this market, can you earn? Now, if you can buy your home for $400,000 or less and generate anywhere close to $100,000 in gross revenue, then even after your cleaning, even a manager, utilities, insurance, your mortgage, all the rest, you're going to be cash flowing quite nicely. And so now we are up to a 58% occupancy rate. This is a $500 average nightly rate. So that's how you get there, 58% with $509. So what we're going to do when we look at the individual properties on Airdna, which is only going to pick comparable properties that are very close. So it's just going to pick bedroom, bathroom, and guest count close by. Then it's going to give us a projection for that particular unit. So these numbers are for the whole market. We're going to be looking at specific sub-markets, micro markets that are right around the property that we're considering. As I will show you, once you get into that level of analysis, you really have to think about the comps that this is using, and there's some crazy nice houses. This is a nice house, but it's not that nice. So if they're charging $500 a night, maybe I'm only going to average $300 or $350. So we obviously have to take that into consideration. So that just gives you a sense of the overall market and how to use Airdna filters to get down to the listings that make the most sense and the amenities that are going to really pay off. So from that, we will then move into the specific properties that we are considering. Okay, first off is Pamela Place. So Pamela Place is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's pretty turnkey. Let's say it's move-in ready. It's not turnkey. I don't have any reason to believe they're including the furnishings, but I will be showing you a tour so you can get a sense of the layout from the photos. That we've got some nice high ceilings, wood beams. This is kind of what you're looking for. People that are going to Yosemite to hike and enjoy the outdoors are very definitely attracted to a cabin feel. Vaulted wood ceilings with beams are something we always look for. And then just paging through, you can see the floors are nice. This has been completely remodeled, and it's actually, like I said, very move-in ready, let's just say that. And just to show you the location. So you can see this is in Ahwahnee, or in the direction of Ahwahnee. It's to the west of Oakhurst, and we would also say just a little farther away from the park, because you would actually go into Oakhurst and then drive up Highway 41 into Yosemite Valley. So the location is a nice location, and there's some very decent views, but it is not super close to the park. So just take that into consideration. Now, that is what is going to be the primary driver of the forecast from Airdna. So what we show here is our 41243 Pamela Place, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I set it up for 6 guests, and at that, it looked at all the comparable properties in the neighborhood, and it calculated $60,000 projected annual revenue with 55% occupancy, $300 a night. That's a good starting point. And as you can see, this is the seasonality. So you're going to do most of your business in the summer, clearly. This has got not a bad shoulder with May and April, but you can see it falls off pretty quickly. in the winter months, and February being down lowest, just a little over $2,000. So the strategy here is we would rather have a booking than no booking. So one of the things that we would do, for example, is, and you'll see this from the video, you can take that master bedroom and you can put a French door out to the patio, lock the door into the house, and you can create a 1-bedroom, 1-bath suite that can be rented out just to 2 people. We go ahead and configure this like that. So again, this is the same location. We're just configuring for a different bed, bath count, and number of guests. We update, and now we get 36,000. So in other words, this house as a 1-bedroom would generate more than half the revenue. And you see where we're getting that is in the occupancy, which jumped up from 55% to 60%. Now, February is still the low month, but now it's as a 1-bedroom, 1,600, not 2,300. Performing quite well as a subset of the house. So you ask yourself, okay, so we took a 3-bedroom and turned it into a 1-bedroom. That's a good thing to do in the off season. You're probably going to get a booking, maybe when you wouldn't have gotten a booking at all, for 6 or 8 people. The other thing, though, is that you are not giving up the rest of the house. We can take the rest of the house and we can configure that as a 2-bedroom, still 1 bath, because there's only 2 baths in the house. And that's going to comfortably sleep 4, so we can accommodate 4 guests. And what happens at this location? 42,700. Okay, so again, we're not able to apply the amenity filter to this. It's by definition applying the bedroom, bathroom, and number of guests. But you could argue that you could take these numbers and boost them by adding a hot tub, or in this case, 2. We have 36 and change plus 42 and change. So now we're up to 78,000 for this property. So that starts to get pretty interesting. So I've seen this house. It's got a nice location. It's got some nice views. You could do some things with decking and maybe, like I said, a partition between the 2 spaces in terms of the patio. But I think this has real potential. And given a couple of price drops, it's now down under 390,000. And given the fact that it doesn't need extensive renovation, I think this is definitely a property to consider. So that is 41243 Pamela Place, which, like I said, good option. Okay, this is the Pamela Place property off a quiet road. Good driveway, driveway's in shape. Then you just come up the steps to this landing area, front porch. We'll take a look inside. This one is pretty turnkey. So you enter into the great room, some nice high beamed ceilings with a nice wood insert fireplace. And we're just going to peek in the garage here. This would be the candidate for a game room. So you've got a good space with an opportunity to create a nice game room. Okay, so again, we're going to walk in. Now you're going to see the kitchen area. Not huge, but very clean. We've got some granite counters. Cabinets are a little dated, but they don't look bad. Pantry, dining area, and then the dining area empties out into the covered porch. We've got a decent amount of level space in the backyard. And you can see we've got some distant views of the mountains. You can also do some tree trimming and open up some of those views. So again, not a bad location, not bad at all. That's the master on the other side of that window, and we'll talk a little bit about what I'm recommending there. But anyway, we'll walk back through the main living area and see the rest of the house. So you can see they've got a nice luxury vinyl plank floor already done. House has been painted, so it's very clean and pretty much turnkey. All right, we'll take a look at one bedroom here. Bedrooms are good size. You want to be able to fit kings or a couple of twins, depending on your configuration. Again, these are not tiny bedrooms. Down the hall, we're going to find the shared bath. So again, decent upgrade, and the tub surround all looks like good shape. Down at the end, we've got the primary suite. And I think you definitely have an opportunity at some point, if you'd like, to put in a French door there onto the back patio, which would then be to the entrance to a potential second unit. So again, slow season, divide the house up. You've got your 2-bedroom house, and then you've got what Kyle refers to as a hotel room. Again, not luxurious per se, but super clean, very turnkey. This would just be pretty much decorate, furnish, and open up. There's a good spot for a hot tub out there, but there is no hot tub, so that would have to be installed. But that, I think this is a good option. We'll move on to the next one. So we're going to move on to number 2. So we're going to move to 51354 Dorstan. And what do you notice? Lots of wood. Yeah, this has got a really, quite frankly, a cute cabiny Old West feel. It's on a nice 1-acre lot. There's actually a seasonal creek. It was running the last time I was at the house. The property line is actually on the other side of the creek. So this creek is all on this property, and you'll see some of that in my video. But this is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. 1-bath is probably one of the few weak points this house has, but there is an option. You could carve out between the primary bedroom and the current bathroom. I think you could definitely put at least a half bath, if not a bath with a small shower that's off the primary bedroom. So I think that's an option down the road, but going in, it's actually a nice house and could be a very good investment. Now this is just a shade under $400,000. You can notice from some of these pictures, and I'll point it out on the video as well, this blue roof is, or green roof, is a metal roof. For fire insurance purposes up here, a metal roof is a good thing. And so that may give you a bit of assistance on your premiums. The house is pretty nicely decked out. It already has a hot tub right off the primary bedroom under a nice little gazebo. So I think this house has a lot going for it. We're always looking for something unique, right? They don't want to just stay in their tract house in San Jose, but in the mountains, right? So they're looking for something a little unique. In this case, we've got that really nice cabin feel. Like I said, it translates into the interior as well with the wood beam ceiling, a lot of wood trim. Anyway, it's a cozy, nice place, and I think it could do very well as an Airbnb listing. So then, next is location. So here's where we're at. You can't tell anything from that map, so let me just zoom out. Okay, so what do we notice here? It's on the Yosemite side of Oakhurst. So that actually makes for a nice location to get bookings again, because while the entire town of Oakhurst does well, there are guests that will maybe gravitate towards something that's a little closer to the park. So that's a plus. It's in a really nice area. It's a mixed bag, let's just be honest. We're in the country. You might see some junk on a neighbor's property, but in terms of the location, it's great, and the house itself is really nice. Nice curb appeal and nice feeling in terms of the distant views and the access to the creek. So let's jump over to Airdna. All right, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Oh, I got to correct that. 1 bath. Baseline is 6 guests. With 3-bedroom, 1 bath, we're at $73,000. Now, with 1 bath, there's no way to divide this up into smaller units. If you added a second full bath down the road, then it might be possible to carve that primary bedroom off into a separate suite. But let's really not consider that for this property at this time. But at $73,000 on top of under $400,000 list price, pretty good return. What are we seeing? Occupancy. Again, closer to the park, probably helping us there. These numbers are simply calculated from the surrounding listings. And we've got quite a few here. Again, this area is popular for vacation rentals. And again, you've got anything from 21,000 2.5-star reviews, so that's dragging the whole average down, to 130,000. Nice hot tub, nice views. So we're looking for some comparables that are kind of a similar vein, similar nightly rate, similar occupancy. This one is probably one we'd want to drill down on a little bit. And in fact, let's do that. That's just a little under our average. So I can pull that listing up. And what does this tell me? It was available 360 days, so this is a full-time vacation rental. It is not being owner used to any great degree. They're doing a little over 70,000, close to 60% occupancy, over $300 a night. So pretty good performer. 4.9 stars out of 156 reviews. They do have 2 bathrooms. They do have a hot tub, and they will accommodate 8 people. Now you want a little more detail. They put a nice handy link up here for the actual Airbnb listing. So what's important about this, especially if you're looking in a particular neighborhood, you navigate to the Airbnb listing and you get to see what do people think about staying in this place. So they like this house, location, great location, beautiful location. You're looking for the areas that are similar to your home as a comparable. And these are all 5 and just 1 4-star review. And then again, do your homework, go through these reviews. Here, couch was filthy. All right, so they got a ding for a bad cleaning. So make sure that your cleaner is doing a good job. Pay them well and take care of them and give them positive feedback. So that looks like an anomaly because most of these reviews are all 5 stars with just a few 4s in there. They like the hot tub, the backyard, etc. This property is doing quite well, almost 4.9 stars average. They've done well. Now, see some of the amenities or that we point out in the listing. They've got some pretty nice appliances, granite counter. They furnished it nice. This gives you an idea. You've got to up your game. You want to be in the top 20% of all the available listings. They've got beautiful photos. They've done some practical things here. This is why they've got the guest capacity that they do. They've got this double bunk bed, double on the bottom, twin on top, and a trundle so they can sleep somebody else, and then a crib for the little ones. So they've done a nice job with this listing. They present it well. That's not a pool, that's a hot tub, but they took a nice photo to show it off. I think Dorstan could compete. It gives you an idea that, you know, Airdna is a good starting point. It gives you a general idea of what competitive properties are doing in the close vicinity. But some of these neighborhoods, even though they're pulled into the comp set, aren't right next door, right? These ones off of Sierra Sky Ranch, this is really a different neighborhood. So maybe you focus on the ones that are close by. Now, it's all in the same market. A guest that's searching in our area is going to put in their dates and the number of guests, and they're going to get everything. But this is the closest competition. There is a mix. We've got one up here doing $85,000 a year. I haven't looked at this. What do we got here? They've got nice lawn, some distant views, pretty nice place. They could be doing $92,000 if it was just open more, because they only offered their place for 342 days a year. Most likely that was to accommodate owner stays or friend stays, which is another benefit of owning a property up here. So they had a lower occupancy rate, and that is also a function of a pretty high average daily rate. So maybe they're trying to scoop the cream of the crop, and they're okay booking a little less with a clientele that's willing to pay a higher price. So there's different strategies. For ROI, you want to optimize between occupancy and nightly rate to get your RevPAR as high as possible. But this is just kind of shows a contrast. Different property, same neighborhood, also a 4-bedroom. So I put in 3-bedroom, but it actually showed me a 4-bedroom. So we're probably going to see maybe a few 2-bedrooms or 4-bedrooms in here. Again, something to think about. Here we've got a 5-bedroom, maybe dragging up the number a bit because they're doing $135,000 a year. So that's why I say you can start with the Airdna projection for your property, but it's just a guideline. It is not the final answer. You start with this, and then you start looking at specific comps, and you do a A/B comparison with your property and maybe make some adjustments. So you can get as detailed or as scientific as you want, but this is how you're going to get comfortable. Is this a good investment or not? And then at the end of the day, hopefully you're going to want your place is booked 60% of the time, which is good, but what does that mean? That means it was available 40% of the time. So if you've got a flexible schedule, you've got many opportunities to come up and stay in your own place. I highly recommend that. You really get to know what's going to work and what's not going to work for your guests. So that's a great practice. And that's also going to factor into the decision. What kind of place meets your needs and where do you want to stay? So yeah, that's where we're at on that property, which is the 51354 Dorstan Drive. Again, another great option at less than $400,000 asking price. Okay, we are at Dorstan. Nice little cabiny feel. High ceiling, lots of wood, nicely done. We've got wood counters, island, black appliances, and looks like a pretty nice quality luxury vinyl plank floor. And past the freestanding wood stove, we see the man cave, TV up top. This is basically the 3rd bedroom, just off the living area. And then over here, we've got a bedroom at this end of the hall. Not a bad size, not huge. Here is the bathroom with 12-foot tub. Looks like it could be refinished, but that's a cool feature. And around here we have first the laundry area, and then the primary bedroom. There is no ensuite bath, so this is just one bathroom. And then the highlight is step out onto the back patio, and you've got the hot tub under that gazebo, a couple storage sheds. And this is a good sized lot. It goes on and on. way past the fence line. But that will give you an idea. We got one carpet, so that would definitely have to be addressed. This tile out here is serviceable, but yeah, both bedrooms would need new flooring for sure. But highlight is definitely this room. Okay, we're here at Dorstan to take a look at this little cabin. We've looked inside. We're going to take a look at the lot. You can see the creek runs beside the property. Property line actually extends to the other side of the creek. Driveway in, and then got the cabin and carport here. We'll just take a quick look around. The owner's been very kind to host us a couple of times here. So take a peek in the backyard. Got a couple of storage sheds. Nice outdoor space. Hot tub is definitely the feature. And nice wood fencing. You can see the metal roof. Is that open?
Yeah, we can go this way.
Okay, all right. We're just gonna,
Whatever way you want to go.
that's all right. So we're gonna walk around and take a look at the rest of the lot. And you can see, again, the creek is running. Another carport back here. Here's the water storage, and this lot runs next to the neighbor, so it extends back a little outside that tree line, wraps around to the road with all this area out here beyond the fence, also part of the lot. So nicely situated, beautiful area, very peaceful back here, and that'll give you a sense for the exterior. Of course, there's a good market, there's some good options, and there's certainly ways to make money as well as create a place for your friends and family to stay and to build long-term generational wealth, one property at a time. So there you go.